Oh, it looks like it worked. Now, how to move this around? Oh, that's right, they changed the player view. Oh no. Can this be moved? Yup, that's good. Oh, how about this? There. How's that? Yes. Okay, excellent. Yes, you can see this. There we go. Can the stream see this? Love it. All right. Welcome, stream. We're having all the technical difficulties, which is appropriate since we haven't played in forever. So thank you for joining us. Late as well. My apologies. Just to remind you, this is Treasure Tuesday, and we got a crew of fine folk. We're short one. We'll be RPing a little bit of his stuff. What was that? Yeah. Oh, I got it. You're making a joke. Yeah. So I like to periodically, on no particular timetable, when the opportunity presents itself, review what we agreed on for session 0. So for those of you in the world that don't know what a session 0 might be, for me, what I do is I I collect some things that the group wants to do or specifically doesn't want to do, so that we can build a world together, a collaborative world together. And the purpose of reviewing these do's and don'ts, if you will, is to make sure we're kind of on the same track, on the same page, and to make any additions or clarifications that we might want. Apparently, Discord audio is still muted. Doesn't look muted on my side, but it also isn't playing. Neat. No, I can. Yeah, can you hear each other? I know. I assume you can hear me, but I'm not getting any feed from the Discord. Cool. Cool. Sure. Um. This is just all the fun. Yeah, give me a second, guys.
Sorry. You tried to show me what it was. I can't read those dice. Why are you looking at me like that? Oh no, treasure die. Do better. There we go. There's my dragon.
Okay, I think you're being heard now.
Yeah, I think I hear. Yeah.
You hear dice rolling?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Where was I?
Reviewing
Right.
of session 0 things.
The purpose of the purpose of reviewing a session 0 do's and don'ts is to either add to them or clarify some things. Last night with my other group, we ended up clarifying 1 or 2 things, which was helpful for me. And I think reviewing them sort of keeps us on the same page. So with that in mind, I will read out the things that we agreed on in our session 0 back in September, I guess. Okay,
Yeah.
so things we would like is combat. We like RP, flow of the game keeps moving, diverse characters, rich cultures, story that give us a reason to reflect in our own lives, lore, mystery, loot, opportunities for creative solutions, puzzles and traps, NPCs with backstories to explore, persistent world, sense of consequence, so things keep happening while the party isn't around, murder hobo should have repercussions, being faced with consequential decisions is good. Situations that force interesting social dynamics is good. And elaborate combat scenarios was listed. The don'ts that we had were things around domestic violence, PTSD, rape, race, and no-win situations. So, do we think we're all still on the same page about that? Are there any changes we would like to make to either side, or any clarifications that you'd like to make?
I don't think so. Not from my end.
I think I'm good with that.
Yeah, works for me.
Perfect. Okay, I guess we will skip straight to leveling. So, at the end of the last session, I told you guys that we were hitting level 2, and hopefully you guys at least took a look at that while we took a break. Power. You're gonna say that word, man. Did you guys have any questions? Has everybody successfully leveled up to level 2?
Check.
Cool.
I'm gonna
Okay,
go ahead and
so-
apologize right now for kicking twice as much ass as I did.
I do not.
Here comes the action surge, guys.
I don't think we need an apology
Oh,
for that. I think we're
right.
excited
Yes.
about it. Yeah.
That is
Oh,
correct.
Lord.
Wow. Oh,
Oh, you've got a.
You
a-
thought I did a lot of damage.
Oh, that's right. You've got a second action now, don't you?
I do indeed.
That's gonna be fun. This would be a great time for me to take notes about the fact that I need to like make all of the RP or all of the combat harder, right? Like that's
No, that's okay. It's
you
fine.
could not.
This is
That's
fine.
fine.
that's what a GM's supposed to do, right? Like, oh, you can hit harder, therefore, yeah, I should be able to hit harder, right? That's right.
Just make it more likely that I hit someone that is on our side.
right.
Or you could
Stand
also
your word, man.
That's a
Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You borrow my knife.
Harlech,
It
did you
does fit the lore.
level up?
Yeah, I think I finished before we
do have-
stopped last time.
Okay, cool. Any fun surprises you want to share with the group? Like you can hit twice from Marthala over there, or anything else you guys would like to share or have questions about?
I kind of have my own healing now, which is nice.
A couple times of long rest, I can do something fancy with dice roll.
Mhm.
Portent is fun.
Oh, are you playing a portent wizard?
Yeah, divination.
Divination.
Divination wizard. Neat. That's gonna be neat. And Wordman, did you say that you can heal yourself?
Not really. It's temporary hit points.
Yeah.
Oh, armor of Agathis.
Can you give them to other
No, not
people?
really.
Because I
No,
feel like
it's
you
just
should
me.
give them to people.
before you blast them in the back of the head?
It's not armor of Agathis. It's an invocation. It's fiendish vigor. I can cast false
Oh.
life.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, false lights.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Cool.
Justice, I think you're a little far from the microphone, so I can't quite hear you. Would you mind repeating that?
I now have Song of Rest.
Ooh.
Oh, that's
Ooh,
good. Yeah, that's a
nice.
good one.
Yeah.
Don't you have Jack of all trades now too?
Oh yeah, he's
My
good at
Karayan
everything now.
Knight.
He's good at everything.
So my basically any charisma check is pretty well buffed out.
Nice.
Pretty well.
That's appropriate timing.
And I got a new spell, so I'm not going to tell you what that is. I'm gonna hold on to it. for
Nice.
that.
That's fair.
Ooh. Yeah, nice.
I got spells at all, which is fancy for me.
Oh yeah, you just got spells. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got Spidey Sense and Reckless Attacks.
Spidey
Oh,
sense?
reckless.
What is that?
Anything that causes me to make a dex saving throw, I get advantage on, as long as I can see it.
That could be cool. And what was the other thing?
Reckless
Reckless.
Attack.
Reckless attack. Oh, that's gonna be
I think we
terrible.
can all agree that we're pretty reckless to
Need
begin
more
with.
I
damage.
know, like you don't need to be more reckless. You're just gonna
Right.
like. What does this mean? You can like
Let's not
destroy
exacerbate the
houses?
problem.
Yeah, like oh my goodness.
It means
just
I'm more
like,
likely to
I
hit
get
him.
advantage when I say so, basically.
That's fair. That is fair. Okay.
At the expense that everything else gets advantage on me, but you know, who cares?
Does that include me?
I mean, if you're targeting me, sure.
Okay, so we've leveled up. We're saved in D&D. I know there were some issues with D&D Beyond yesterday. Okay, I think we're ready to go. Y'all ready to go? Is there anything else I was gonna? Oh, I was gonna read a
Yeah.
recap. Let me read a recap. I read 2019 recap. I can do that.
Nice.
Reading recap. 1 second. Okay, reading recap. So, 2019. You all met at the Candlestick Inn. Each of you were here to speak with Felix about a job. Some of you come as pairs, some of you came alone, but you all left together. Felix tells you about a simple job. Low risk, easy money. Go down into the rift and bring back an item. A friend of his with the city guard is going to let you in. But it wasn't a simple job, was it? You got jumped by some random crew driven by, scared of a skeleton, of all things, above ground. And then, after all that, the city guard made you sign a contract to clear out any critters down in the rift so the city surveyors could look around safely, which was not what Felix told you. But down into the rift you went, where you found, you found giant rats and spiders and zombies, some seriously weird puzzles, some more weird cult foot room where a giant foot tried to murder you, and a portal to another very unfriendly dimension. A dragon, you found a dragon, some new guy, some new wizard. And at the very end of it all, there was another weird cult room, which also tried to kill you, but with a maul this time. Did I get that right? Is that everything? And occasionally, Brannon and Marthala just sort of disappear for no apparent reason. You make it back up to the top through mostly clear tunnels. Portal closing and spider hunting is not in your skill set. And then you have to sign another inventory with the City Watch, which is ridiculous because Felix said you could keep whatever you found besides that item that he asked for. So it sounds like Felix has a lot to answer for. But before you can talk to him, another random crew comes after you and the city guard. The gall of them. And after handling that mess and accepting thanks from the guard captain for rescuing half of the team she'd sent down, then you all head back to the Candlestick Inn to speak with Felix. Does that sound about right? Did I miss anything?
Yeah, that's about it.
Okay. So, 2020. You're snug in the Candlestick Inn. The clockwork thingamabob is safely stowed under a bunk. The whole job took about 3 days. Not too terribly long. And you all have a couple of things to take care of. For example, what are you going to do with Gorko? You promised Dab, that sweet little bronze dragon, that you'd meet up with her outside of town. Also, all those severed feet? Some of you have heard rumors about a murderer in this town that has been severing their victims' left feet. And of course you need to talk to Felix. There is a reckoning to be had after all. I would like you all to roll a d20.
Oh. Okay.
Did somebody ask why? Because I said so.
Justice, I need you to look at what I just rolled.
Ooh.
First roll of the year. First official roll in this campaign for the year.
What'd you got?
What'd I get, Justice?
It's a 1.
A 1?
Oh, you're taking over for me.
I am. You're welcome.
Brandon, what did you roll?
19.
19. Oh,
With
that's
our powers
gonna
combined.
Next, I want. Can somebody roll for Geth and tell me what he got?
Yeah. It's 6.
Cool.
You're never rolling for me.
Next, I want Druge and Quentin. Druge, what'd you
19.
get? 19. And Quentin?
Well, it went from an 18, but then hopped over to 8.
An 8?
I like
And
the
8.
story,
Yeah.
lad.
Okay, and then I need. Let's see, who am I missing? I need Brandel.
13.
I got rid of one of the B's in my 2 games. And then I need Harlech,
17.
which apparently is in all caps. 17. Okay. So at the end of the last session, you all retired into your rooms, boy, I'm saying a lot. Brannon and Marthala had popped out of existence. What I'm going to do is tell you who wakes up first and then next. And I know some of you wanted to have a couple of side conversations before you confronted Felix, so this is going to be the time for that, okay? First person awake is going to be Druge. And Druge, remember, you're sharing a room with Quentin over here, up in that top corner.
Yep. I think he will polish off what's ever left of the barrel of ale that he picked up from downstairs the night before.
Sure.
And then just kind of poke Quentin in the ear with a drunk.
Okay. So that wakes up Quentin.
What? Oh, hate that. Why do you do that?
Because you do that.
What? I'm up.
Great. So what's the plan?
Well, we gotta talk to that the guy who gave us her job and see what's up with that. But after that, I wanted to talk to you about maybe hanging out with these guys for a little bit.
Or leaving immediately.
Well, see, that's what I thought you were gonna say. I've got some reasons we might want to stick with them. We've kind of started to run out of leads, just the two of us, and I've noticed with this group they're opening up other opportunities.
Opportunities like commanding people into pools and disappearing into the ether and shooting magic into the back of our heads. Yes, I like these opportunities. This is fine.
That's fair, but I am the one that's gone down to the party damage. I more meant like they have any healing at all, which neither of us offer. There's someone else to help you out with playtime up front besides me. You know, the little loud one could be quite the distraction to let us get around and get up to our business without too much interference.
Until he disappears or freaks out and
well, and on that end, if he is up to something and if it relates to anything that we're trying to investigate, I don't think he's picked up on anything yet, and it might give us a really great way to kind of, you know, what they say, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer, and I think we have an advantage to observe him from here if he has anything to do with it, and if not, well, somebody who can pop out of a situation and pop back in could be useful.
it'd be useful if he were popping everyone out. Sure.
Well, you know, we seem to be getting stronger. Perhaps that can come with time.
Or he just pops out and never pops back.
Well, why don't we get through the rest of this job and, you know, see what other opportunities. There's a cleric in the group that could get us some leads. Let's just give me a little bit of time. Let's play this out for just a bit.
Okay, so Druge is thinking real hard, and Quentin is ignoring the murderous look I assume he's giving him.
Yep, putting my boots on, lacing them up.
This is a
Ready to
pretty
go.
cramped room, so you're kind of in each other's space, and I would imagine that that's not fun for you. So let me know when you want to head out, but I'm going to move to another group for a second.
Yeah.
So Marthala and Relic, you both pop back into the Candlestick Inn, and you're in the same area that Felix first talked to you. Relic, Brannon, you have, like, as you open your eyes and you're in this space, you it takes you a minute to recognize where you are, and you have the weirdest feeling that you were just arguing with someone, and you weren't winning the argument, which is a bit unusual for you, and it feels like something from your past. Like, it's like you're trying to remember that girl's name in your kindergarten class kind of thing. Marthala, it is like between one blink and the next, you were in one place and now you're here.
Would you stop doing that?
I am I'm getting real tired of this. I'm getting these headaches.
Get here.
I don't... Magic. Come on, leave me alone.
I think that this has something to do with your connection to the divine. I certainly don't hear anything calling me into the great nether and then appearing as somewhere else.
Yeah, I got words from the divine in my head, all right. And a splitting, buggering headache. And hold a tick. Isn't it?
Oh, yeah, I wonder if the others are. Hey guys!
I got some words for that dwarf.
So,
This Quentin will
Okay.
stumble out of the room.
well, they're around a corner, so you don't hear
Oh,
this.
sorry. Okay.
So no one responds. But do you guys want to chat about anything else real quick?
Yeah. I'm gonna grumble and stumble over to the bar and ask for breakfast.
Okay, so that is downstairs. So I'll move you off the map. You head downstairs. You are like one of you and Marthala, if Marthala follows you, are the only people at the bar. And there is a like absurdly cheerful young lady, and she's like, "Good morning. What can I get you?"
Ah,
I love your attitude. I would love some coffee or tea.
Of course. And what can I get you, handsome man?
He needs meat.
Of
Something
course.
really greasy. Do you have anything really greasy back there?
We've got some bacon. We've got a nice haunch of bacon.
give me a haunch.
That'll do just fine.
Got it. Okay, let me go get that. I'll be just a jiff. Are you guys staying with us?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
why don't
we're
you
with
just...
the elephant chap. Put all this on his tab.
Oh, of course, of course, of course. I will, and she just sort of like jots something down on a pad, which is a little unusual for a barmaid. And she bustles to the back, and she just like gestures, "Any table you want, loves, I'll bring it right out." And she heads to the back.
I see what you wrote.
No, it looked like she was just making notes, like as you were like, "Yeah, haunch of bacon, coffee." She, just like a waitress would jot stuff down. And you said put it on
Okay.
the big guy's tab, and she writes, she's like, "Okay, yes, big guy's tab," kind of thing. Okay, so you guys sit at
Yeah, the nearest table.
cool. Pop down to the next floor if it doesn't break. Okay, so you guys are, and of course I don't have your figurines. Cool. You grab the nearest table. It is the middle rectangular one.
That table.
Yep, that's where you guys are sitting. All right. Anything else you want to chat about real quick?
I'm good.
Next awake is going to be Harlech. You wake up in what is probably one of the most luxurious rooms in the Candlestick Inn. It's right off the stairs, and there's a separating room between you and the stairs, so there's no noise there. You're in a luxurious two or three or four people could fit in this bed if they really liked each other. And there's even a bed in the corner, just in case you had a friend. And in the room, adjoining this one, that is all yours, there's a nice little table and a washstand and a bath, and it's got hot water in it.
Well, I'm probably going to do some reveling.
Some reveling?
Like enjoying the bed,
Okay.
possibly going and having a bath. I'll probably do some I think I probably had a breakthrough last night
Mhm.
with some of my old notes, and I'll probably look through my book again, but then I'll head downstairs with it after I bathe briefly and then get some breakfast.
Perfect. Okay, so you head downstairs, and you see Marthala and Brandon sitting at that middle table. And as you're coming down the stairs, a very cheerful young lady is bustling over to their table with a very large mug of coffee. Actually, two very large mugs of coffee, and she slides the second one over to Brandon. It's like, "Thought you might need this, love," and then like lays down in front of you what is it just like a pile the size of your head of bacon.
Acceptable.
And she got it out there pretty fast, and she turns to Marthala and she says, "Anything else for you?
No, the coffee smells amazing.
I can keep it coming if you like."
Sounds great to me.
Awesome. You just I'm just cleaning up behind the bar. You just look over my way, and I'll bring it right over. Oh, good morning, young man. Come, let me get you some
good-
breakfast. What can I get you?
Good morning. I will have one of those coffees and whatever you've got as far as breakfast.
She has lots of bacon.
We're never low. on
Maybe not
bacon.
quite that much bacon.
Can I interest you in any sort of hash or eggs? We got plenty of eggs.
Eggs and hash sounds wonderful.
Okay, eggs, hash, side of bacon, a cup of coffee. Let me get you that coffee, and then I'll head back there and get some more food cooked up. So she, pulls a mug from behind the bar, and she comes over, and she's got like a tea kettle, like one of those old like metal with like the weird spout, and she pours the coffee in. It's steaming like crazy, and she bustles back behind the bar. There's a little opening back there. I say, imagining this. Yeah, there's a kitchen back behind the wall that the bar is on, so she's bustling back into that room there, and you can hear her clattering around because it's pretty open and there's literally nobody else down here. Harlick, what do you do?
She is just.
I'll probably plot myself down at the same table, that man with a pile of bacon and the woman with coffee.
You are now all dogs again because
Yes.
I lost your tokens and I've had so many tech problems this evening. I'm not gonna.
Dogs
No,
work.
this is my dream.
Great. So you plop down on the other side of the table.
I'll probably have my nose in a book unless somebody starts talking to me.
Oh, that's gonna happen. So, how'd everything go?
Oh, right. The disappearing gents. Well, fine. We cleared up that little mess and then came here. Nothing much to write home about.
You didn't get arrested or beat anyone senseless or anything that we should be aware of, right?
No one who wasn't already attacking us. Not in the past day or...
Oh, no beatings in the past day. Hear that?
That's a change. Listen, mate, and I'm gonna gesture at him with a piece of bacon. There's this really buggered dwarf around here somewhere that we gotta have words with. Now, you weren't around, but he promised us a lot of stuff that didn't come true, and it led to me wandering around a bloody sewer for 3 days, getting a stink all in me. So we're gonna have some words. So, there might be some fireworks. Just want to warn you.
Hey, DM.
I believe
Am I
we...
still covered in poop?
Yep.
I got prestidigitized. Okay,
No,
cool.
no,
'cause
sorry.
otherwise this would be gross.
I think you were prestidigitized as you came out of the tunnel, and you guys disappeared. I forget where you disappeared. And I
Right as
forget
soon
what
as
my
the
notes.
fight started with the gang people.
So you were prestidigitated before that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think I got a thunder wave in, and then we called it a night.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
First round, if I remember right, and then you guys pop.
Yarp.
Yep.
Cool. Okay, so yeah, you're clean. And I'm sorry, what? Someone was saying something else when that was asked.
I'm just grumbling about
Felix.
Krennic or whatever his name is.
Felix.
Yeah, Felix. That's right. That's the dwarf. Grease
So,
about as I get agitated and sling my bacon.
The barmaid is bustling over as you're grumbling about Felix, and she was like, "Felix, now what's that? Are you?
Yeah, you seen that bloody little dwarf?
He's our friend. We
Oh,
were
you
hoping
one of
we
his
might be able to have
crews?
a word. Yes.
I'm not.
Oh,
bloody
yeah.
little-
Stop it.
He comes in here every night. He'll be here tonight, of course. Sometimes he comes in for breakfast, and she thinks about it. And she goes, "He might be doing here for breakfast. Yeah. Are you looking to check in with him?"
Oh yes, I'm
Yes,
looking
we
to check
have
in
to
with
catch
him.
up with our old friend.
She looks very confused because like there are different responses coming from the two of you, and she's like, "Okay, well if I see him, I'll tell him you're here." And she goes back.
Thank you
behind the
so
bar,
much. Yeah.
And she's cleaning and stuff, and keeping an eye out towards the door to see if anybody else is gonna come down. Okay. Notes. Notes. Next person to wake up is going to be Brandel. So let me get back upstairs so I can look at which room you're in so I can word it. Words.
I was in
Okay.
a smaller
So you're in
room.
a smaller room. It's pretty much big enough for a bed. It's got a very tiny chest in it that is unlocked, and you're worldly enough to know that if you'd wanted to lock something up here, you could have gotten the key from the chest downstairs. Like a little tiny table that you could probably sit at if you wanted, but this is a very cramped room for you. You are a very large critter, and it's kind of uncomfortable. You slept on the floor because that bed, you could wear this chest as a hat. Like you wish you'd slept outside. Like you were just trying to fit in, and this was weird. And so you wake up, and you're used to waking up kind of all at once, and being very sort of like. There's no transition from like asleep to awake for you. It is just an instantaneous like snap, and you are awake. This comes from some of your history and some of the living you've done out in the woods and other places. So you snap right awake, and you know exactly where you are. You know it's morning. What do you do?
Well, I'm gonna get up, stretch a little bit. My neck may hurt a little bit because I slept on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna go downstairs, I guess, see if there's something to eat.
Okay, so you head downstairs, and as soon as like she sees your feet on the stairs, well, the barmaid bustles out, and she's like, "Oh, hello, sir. Good morning. What can I get you? What will you partake of this fine morning?" She's very like cheerful, and I can't keep it up. It's that cheerful.
Okay.
Like I'm
You
having
get too
trouble.
big.
Yeah.
Well, I look towards the table. I'll have
wave.
whatever they're drinking.
Oh, a cup of coffee. Sure thing.
That
She reaches
sounds good.
over the bar, and she grabs a big mug and the same mug that the other three have, and she pours some coffee into it, hands it to him, hands it to you, and says, "What can I get you? We got some bacon and eggs cooking up. Throw a couple more on for you."
Eggs sound good.
Wonderful. And she bustles back into the kitchen, and you hear her flipping stuff around. She comes out a couple seconds later, or minutes. She comes out like 2 minutes later, and she puts down a plate in front of Harlech and winks, and it's got eggs and hash and a couple pieces of bacon. And she puts down a plate and next to Harlech, and is like, "Are you sitting here, honey? Or are you sitting at another table?"
No, yeah, I'm sitting here.
"Yeah, don't worry. Those chairs will hold you.
Just
Have a seat."
stretching my legs.
And she puts the plate down, and you realize she's also got like a skillet, and it's got a mounded pile of eggs, and you've got like a decent portion in front of you. And she's like, "Do you want some more?"
No, this is good.
"Are you
Thank
sure?" And she turns around, and she's like, "Does anybody else want some eggs?"
Yeah,
What's
sure,
in these
throw 'em on here,
eggs?
bud.
And she scoots some onto your plate, and she's like, "Okay, let me know if you need anything else." And she goes and she bustles back out to the kitchen.
This is just delightful.
I love. I'm sorry, I forgot that Felix said that he would cover all our meals.
Stop it.
Yeah. So
She-
go ahead and put that on his tab.
She laughs, and she's like, "You guys are always trying to mess with Felix." And she bustles back to the kitchen.
Can I do it that?
She's like, "Oh, you," like she immediately is like, "Oh, you," and just like walks away. Geth is gonna wake up next, and he is in a room with Gorko, and Geth didn't sleep very well. He had something on his mind, and he was kind of tossing and turning. And Gorko didn't sleep. Gorko sat at the foot of the bed with his feet hanging over, not touching the ground. And every time Geth woke up and looked over there, he could see Gorko. And somewhere in the middle of the night, he reaches out and he says, "Gorko." And Gorko just shakes his head. And Geth says, "I'm here if you need me." And Gorko just shakes his head. And Geth was like, "Okay." And after that, it seemed like he was waking up just to make sure Gorko was still there. So he wakes up in the morning. He's feeling kind of groggy, and he swings his feet over the edge of the bed, and it's hard for him to get out of bed. Like it's gonna be one of those days. And he stretches, and he walks around the foot of the bed, and he just holds out his hand. And Gorko looks at it, and he hops down from the bed, and he doesn't take Geth's hand. And Geth puts his hand down and he says, "Do you want to talk about it?" And Gorko shakes his head. And Geth is like, "All right, buddy." And Gorko goes, "Do you want to talk about it?"
Oh.
And Geth goes, "Oh, buddy. You know what? I don't want to talk about it." And Gorko says, "Okay, I'm here for you." And
Ugh.
like they both do that, like, yes, yes, well, yes. And like Geth starts it where he's like, "Yes, of course, yes." And Gorko like starts copying him, like, "Yes, yes." And it's probably the cutest thing nobody saw, and I just made up. And he's like, "Do you want some breakfast?" And Gorko's like, "Yes, yep." And so they head downstairs. I think probably Drews and Quentin have had their conversation by now and are probably trailing along behind them. Does that sound cool?
Yeah, sounds about right.
I don't have enough tokens for all of you, so this one will be Geth and Gorgo, and this one will be Quentin and Druge. So
do we need a beer table?
Geth gets down there and he's like, "Oh, good morning." And he sits at this table and the barmaid bustles over and she's like, "Oh, why the long face, honey?" And he gives her a very sad smile and he says, Can I get some coffee?" And she says, "Yep." And she has a cup and the kettle in her hand and she pours it out. And what's happening? I have my speakers and every other volume way up, but stream volume is still a little low. Oh, but you boosted your audio, so you're good. You can hear us? Hey, Jelly. Hey, Jelly. Let me know if you can hear us. Okay, so Geth, perfect. So Geth says, gives a sad smile and says, I'm just tired." And she says, "Of course, let me bring you some eggs." And Gorko's sort of like hiding in a shadow and like slips into the chair. And she starts to turn away and she turns back and she's like, "Eggs for you?" And Gorko just sort of like shrugs, like, "What are eggs?" And Geth is like, "You'll like them." And he notices the bacon. He's like, "Can I get some bacon too?" And she says, "Of course." She bustles back out. And Quentin and Druge, you clamp down. And as you're getting down there, she's about to turn the corner. And she turns back and she goes, "You boys want some eggs?" And then without waiting for an answer, she goes back into the kitchen.
Tea. Okay.
So you guys come out and start sitting at this bigger table. You guys are close enough.
Druge will just pick up the bigger table and move it next to the second one.
Cool. Great. Well, I can move it. Yay. Yes. RP choice approved by this program. It looks like there was something underneath the table. I didn't build this map. What is this? It's a cup. There's like cups underneath the table. I am now going to spend the next 3 days lifting everything on this map. Okay, so you move the table, and y'all sit down. So I'll put Druge and Quentin on one side of the table and Geth and Gorko on the other. So you guys are sitting, and you're eating and drinking respectfully. And the barmaid bustles back out, and she puts down plates in front of all of you, and she puts down coffee mugs in front of everybody. And she leans over and she says, "Did you say you wanted tea, hun?"
Oh, yes, please.
That'll be
Or
Okay.
fruits.
Justin
or
agree with-
oats,
That'll be
or-
just a GIF. Do you all want coffee? And Geth nods and Gorko shrugs again. And Geth puts a hand over Gorko's cup and says, "Milk?" And Gorko looks grumpy. And she says, "Of course. And what was that, sir?" And she looks at Druge. "What was that?"
Fruits, oats, not meat and eggs.
"Oh, sure. Yeah, I think I've got some oatmeal. Is that going to be good? I usually mix in some honey and nuts. Is that okay?
Yep.
I could start a new batch if that doesn't work for you. And I've got some, let me see." And she thinks and she goes, "Got some dried apples. You know, I might have some
Whatever you
fresh
the
apples too."
horses.
She frowns and she says, "That will not be tolerated here." And she bustles back out and she fills everybody's coffee mug except yours. And she bustles back out and she comes back out with a big bowl of oatmeal and another bowl with some like cut up dried apple bits and an apple. And she says, "Let me know if you need anything else. Your tea will be just right up." And she like pauses as she's passing Brandon's spot as she goes back to the kitchen, and she like pauses and she fills his cup up and then she keeps going. So she's back in the kitchen and you're all sitting around the table getting some grub.
We're fine. Thanks for asking, guys. Good
Oh,
to
you're-
see you. We
you're
missed
here.
you.
It's good to see you, Marthala.
What?
Pregnant pause.
The old
Oh.
chum.
You're grumpy. Drink
Oh.
it. more.
You're alive. Great.
Yeah.
Like grimaces really hard because like he just legit didn't see him around everybody else and feels bad.
Thanks for breakfast.
You're welcome.
So
I
how
guess.
did everything go?
Marthala just slides past that one.
I just want to pause and say the dynamic between Marthala and Brandon, between her covering for him and the shut up out of the
Yeah.
corner of her mouth.
Pretty choice right now. Yeah.
Pretty
okay.
great.
So let's keep this
Continue.
going.
I mean, you obviously made it back here, so it can't have gone too bad.
yeah, we seem to have survived. We think we got what we came for, but there's some confusion around who had the notes and the chart describing the object.
Who
we
has
compare
the
all that?
object, by the way?
Geth has it.
Okay.
I think Marthala had the description of it.
Hang on, Brandel, do you ask that in character? Are you like, who has the thing?
Let's say both.
Okay, and so Geth, he has a haversack by his chair, and he just like picks it up and drops it on the floor just a little bit so you can hear it thunk, because he's got his mouth full.
Okay.
And Marthala, you had this scrap of paper. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh yeah, I'll kind of sit at the table and give myself a pat down, and find it tucked into my armor and pull it out and go. Oh, I suppose I did. There you go. And I hand it back.
Who are you handing it to?
Quentin asked me, correct?
So
Yeah, and
Quentin takes it.
I'll kind of stand up and sidle over to Geth and say, do you mind if we compare just to make sure we're all squared away before we confront
He
our friend?
he gestures at the bag with his fork, and he's still like methodically devouring eggs.
So
and
I'll
it-
kind of
Yeah, so you set the bag on the table, and the only thing it's got in it is this. Notes are a wondrous thing. Let me see if this iPad has power. Yep. Wonder of wonders. Pull up my note, this book real quick. So, what he pulls out of the bag is the thing. It is. Sorry, folks. 1 second.
okay.
This is not working. I hate this. So close. So close. So close, guys. Oh no. It reset. I hate you.
I do too. Solidarity.
Okay, here we go. Okay,
Yeah.
so what had no bad computer. Okay. Can you all still hear me? Yes? Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Um,
didn't lose you.
What had been a very battered what looked kind of like a housing, which like a clockwork housing, which is what was very badly scribbled on that paper. You sort of hold it up together and you're like, eh. What was quite battered actually is looks like it's brand new, and it's got the all 6 of the metal sides reattached. They had been like sort of like smashed all over the place. So it's a golden 6-sided device with a circular hole in each of the 6 faces. It's about 2 feet tall. It's actually quite large. It's larger than you remember. You remember it being sort of like squashed and like really, it did not look like this. This looks like a completely different object, almost. But you recognize some of the intricate carvings that are on each of the faces and inside the openings that you can see.
It seems to match the description.
Would anyone mind terribly if I took a quick look at that? It seems kind of my area of interest.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know too much about this stuff, but it seems to match, and I'll kind of hand them over.
Oh, goody goody.
So, Harlech, I'm going to need you to roll a history check to see if you have ever even heard of something like this.
19. Also, by the way, I realized that I never got a clarification on something. I have a feat called Dungeon Delver that allows me to figure out the original makers and purpose of a structure or dungeon. And I think we were going to circle back around, and we never.
Did you have that before? Or
Yeah,
you just
he was
get
made
for
with it.
leveling? Oh,
He was made with it.
goodness.
You
All
woke
right.
up like this.
Let me see if I can weave these bits and bobs together.
If that factors in, we can just play it that way.
It sure enough does, and I'm trying to figure out without. Give me 1 minute to think. Okay, so the housing slides over to you. You have a feat that lets you. Do you like just magically know, or is this like you've studied enough and you've been around enough to like recognize certain elements?
I'm pretty sure it's a recognition thing. Like I can glean by the type of things that are left, who did it, and why they might.
Okay. Whew, okay.
I'm also pretty sure it's overall, not specific room.
It's overall, not specific room. Okay. I will say the following. You were a bit overwhelmed down in the tunnels. You ran into some people, some things got killed. There's a lot of banging around. But you had a good night's rest, a very good night's rest. You're sitting here with a pile of eggs and bacon, some delicious coffee, and you're looking at this housing, and it occurs to you, you're not sure where the housing comes from, but it triggers the memories of the tunnel. And it occurs to you that you saw the same markings in the room with the big crushing foot stone and they were echoed. Some of the same patterns were echoed in the room.
The smashy room?
The smashy room. You were also familiar with some of the markings that were on the mall to be runes of destruction. And to build a gearwork mechanism like that, which is obviously a device of destruction because it's a giant mall, and to have it be carved with those markings and other markings that you're unfamiliar with, that sort of like reminds you of something. You can't quite put your finger on it right now. But the room with the foot, you are positive is associated with the cult of that which endures, which is a pretty crazy cult, and I will tell you more about it later. And we will story that to be you looking at a book. But you've heard of rooms like this where very powerful magic items can be destroyed. They're too dangerous for everyday use. You've heard stories of this like ages, like centuries ago, when cults and other groups that deemed these relics were dangerous would pour all kinds of resources and like sacrifices into these spaces that could destroy relics, either by like funneling too much power in them or just straight up crushing them, or like locking it in a box and burying it at the bottom of the sea, or feeding it to a dragon turtle or whatever. They went to extreme lengths to destroy certain relics, but they're stories because nothing like that exists anymore. Like there aren't relics like that anymore. Magic is pretty commonplace, everyday occurrence. Lots of people can do it. It's rarer to be able to do it super well. but the power one would need to like build a relic in today, like a very powerful relic in today's day and age that's so powerful and dangerous that needed to be destroyed by a room like this. Like that's it's weird. It's just a story. And the fact that it is buried so deep below the city, and you saw evidence of like the city just sort of like building up around it. It was maybe in like a sub basement at some point. Now it's like so deep below the city. That's because the city of Wald just kept building up the cliff and up the mountains to what it is now. So you're looking at this housing, and you're remembering that it was crushed and it is now sort of like put itself back together again somehow. And you wonder.
Guys, this is so exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what?
It just looks like
This is some type of ancient relic.
Yes.
I'm like looking at him while I'm still eating.
The likes of which I have personally never seen, and I don't believe are very common anymore. If you were sent to fetch this, I hope you guys got a very pretty penny. I don't think there will be another item like this. Hell, on this side of
Oh, really?
Though also, another exciting part is I'm pretty sure that room was designed to destroy things like this, and the fact that it didn't work, that's right there tells you the kind of interesting object we're working with. However, it might mean it's impressively dangerous. Maybe.
So
We really can't know without.
interesting. I don't think that means quite the same thing here
Excuse me.
as
Yes.
Yes.
Excuse me. And Gorko interrupts and he says, and he's looking at the table and he's pushed his food away. And he says, My master wanted to destroy that. It's very dangerous.
Do you know anything about this object?
He shakes his head. He says, Gorko doesn't know. My master knew. And then he sort of like slumps. Just to remind you all for dramatic effect, he saw his master's dead body in that room. He's very upset. It's been a month. I didn't know if you remembered.
Well, bit of a downer, yes.
So-
He gets up from the
So
table.
we should just
and he says,
destroy it?
He says, my master didn't think it could be destroyed. That's why we went down there. But my master was destroyed. I left something upstairs. And he heads back up the stairs. And Geth turns around in his chair, but lets him go. Turns back around.
Well, now.
Well, that solves some mysteries.
Does it? Because this is very dangerous.
Do we know why Felix wants it?
I don't think we know much about anything Felix is up to.
Speaking of
A
Felix,
wickedly powerful ancient relic? I can't imagine why anyone.
Concerned.
Oh, you don't have to be so halty about it.
speaking of Felix, so
I don't know.
you hear the bar lady. She's been in the kitchen. You hear her heading back out probably to refresh coffee, and she goes, "Oh, Felix, you're here. I've got some eggs. You want some eggs? Oh, one of your groups is here." And you hear him, grumble something because he's a grumpy old man, and he stomps in, and she follows him out. She actually draws him a beer, in like a short mug, and plops it down. On the bar, and she says, "You're gonna eat some eggs," and she bustles back out to get eggs. And he sits up on a stool at the bar. He like hefts himself up because he's a bit on the short side, and he picks up the mug and he starts sipping on it, and he says, "I heard you guys found a bit of trouble."
I don't know if I would say a bit.
No idea.
Quentin's just gonna kind of slide back from the table and cross his arms and just look at Brandon, just like so excited.
So the thing you sent us after, do you know what it is? Because we found it and it was kind of in shit shape. So I mean, Do you know what it is?
He takes a long sip on his beer and he sets it down on the bar and he says, "It's not really my business to know. What seems to be the problem here? You all seem a mite angry."
Oh. Where is he? Can you point at him on the map? I can't quite.
I will borrow this dog and put him here. He's sitting right there. Like up on a high stool by the bar.
Where? Oh. Not too far away. All right then. I'm gonna stand up and push my chair over so it clatters on the floor dramatically.
And please remember the
With this gentleman, I'm gonna climb onto the stool next to him and stand up so that, we're of height.
He watches you do this pretty calmly. And the barmaid bustles out and puts some eggs on a chair. Or not on a chair, sorry, on a plate. And she says, "You eat all of those. And no roughhousing." And she bustles back out.
You lied out of your ugly, two-faced, bearded, at every step of the turn. And we wandered through shit for 3 days under false pretenses. And if you don't explain yourself right quick, my mates over there, who have a lot of real new experience chopping things to bits, might just have a little fun with you.
He's sipping his short beer as you're talking, and he's listening very carefully. And when he says, "Are you done?" Because I think there's been a misunderstanding here.
Oh, really? A misunderstanding? You said, go here, do this thing, and that was wrong.
Yeah, you weren't the group that was supposed to take out the critters, believe me. That was supposed to be the crawlers. I hired them 2 days before I hired you to go in and destroy all the critters. Now, I can't trust a group like that to bring out the thing I sent you guys in for, so they never even knew about it. Their job was to go in, wipe out the critters. We'd get a hefty reward fee from the city guard and come back up. I never heard back from them, but that isn't unusual, since that crew gets paid up front. The captain that should have known that you weren't the crew for that, but she doesn't really like dealing with the local muscle, so she usually goes through me. And if you don't mind me saying, you're not really anything like the local muscle we got around here, so she must have been mighty distracted to mistake you for the crawlers.
Or she lied.
Listen, son. You're new to this town.
Son?
So I'm going to tell you this once, and then I expect you to remember it. And he sets down his beer, and he says, Wald is a very neatly run town, as towns go. Now, some of it isn't pretty, and there are politics I'm pretty sure you won't understand for some time. But the long and short of it is this. When I say I sent a crew down there before you to clear out the critters, you best believe me. And when I tell you I have a relationship with the captain of the local guard in the city of Wald, you best believe that as well. Now, we're all folk around here, and mistakes get made. The shift shook up a lot of deals. The rift shook up a lot of deals, and there are some that are trying to make some new deals because of it. Won't come to nothing, but there's some chaos in the streets. I assume the critters got caught up in something like that, since I hear the streets are a little unruly these days. Bands are roaming outside of their areas. Some kind of weird dude is running around lopping people's legs off. There's a dragon outside of town yelling about something or other. And he sits back. He sort of like leaned forward when he was talking to you, but he settles back onto his stool and he says, "It's interesting times, to be sure." He takes another sip on his beer.
Interesting. Interesting doesn't begin to cover it, mate.
Brandon, it sounds like he had an honest mistake, and we should just apologize to Felix for doubting him.
We should apologize to him.
I think about
Yeah.
this time, Quentin stands up and kind of walks over and calmly puts a hand on, I think Marthala's shoulder probably, but to get Brandon's attention and be like, it seems to be that our friend here is actually paying us quite a compliment. That a seasoned crew couldn't handle it, and we seem to step in and make good on the deal that they made.
Exactly. See, Brandon, he likes us.
He nods and he says, "You bring up an interesting point. Now, I can understand your frustration. It looks like I sent you on a bad deal. I see that. But consider this. If I didn't want you to come back at all, and frankly, if I were to send a crew that looks like you down into that mess, why would I expect you to come back? But if I sent you down there and didn't expect you to come back, why would I have sent you after the thing that I asked you to go for?" He shakes his head and he waves his hand and goes, "That didn't make sense. I have to say, I originally hired a crew of 10 rough and tumble beaters from the worst parts of Wall to go down there and beat on all the critters. So for you all to have survived that, and you look pretty good shape, you must be quite the talented crew." Takes another sip. And he says, "Did you bring back what I asked for?"
Good sir. Not to interrupt. My name is Harlick. Introductions later. So are we to understand that the ruffians are not...
You cut out, Glenn. What was the ruffians are not what?
yours?
No. I hire crews to do stuff. I'm the middleman. The city guard will deal with me, but they won't deal with the likes of the crawlers and such.
It seems as though there was a group waiting to take the item off our hands.
Oh, is that so? Did you get a good look at anybody?
Posthumously, yes.
Ah, so you took care of him then.
What's posthumously mean?
He looks more and more impressed.
Dead.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
Just a fancy word for dead. Don't...
Did any of them have any special markings or anything like that? Anything odd about them? Usually the crews around here take a liking to, something or other. It's pretty easy to see them.
And just for the record, I looked and didn't find anything, right?
Correct.
No, sir. Nothing of the sort.
He looks thoughtful and he rubs his chin and he says, That sounds like there's somebody trying to stiff my buyer.
I think we heard the name Stork, if I remember.
Yeah.
Might be a
Stork, you
little more
say?
trouble on the street than you initially believed.
Well, and he looks thoughtful and he says, you guys probably gotta... Did you bring it back? Did you find it? There's like, if you've seen it, there's gonna be people after this that aren't just my buyer.
You know who your buyer is? Why didn't they just go get it themselves?
And he laughs and he was like, "You went down there. That's why they didn't go get it themselves."
Well, I mean, it seems to us that if we're so weak and piddly as a crew and we were able to go down and get it, then who would bother paying you as a middleman to send someone?
I wouldn't say that you're weak and piddly. You guys survived quite a bit. And again, I didn't send you down there to fight those critters. I sent you down there to fetch an item. That was it.
So you're saying it was supposed to have already been clear by the time we got down there?
That's exactly what I'm saying. I sent the crawlers down there to clear out that area, and they obviously didn't get there.
Interesting.
And I'll follow up on that, but crawlers go missing all the time. It's no skin off my back.
When you say the crawlers go missing, do you mean that the whole group disappears or that members are replenished, shall we say?
Let's just say their member numbers are flexible. Like I said, they're rough and tumble beaters. They're the ones we use when we need to go hit on something. We don't particularly care if it hits back.
It's not very nice.
Like I said, it's all very neatly
How much are we
organized.
getting paid for this?
Well,
What do you mean, well?
I haven't seen the item I asked for, so...
right. I just need you to refresh my memory. Forgive me. I've been doing a lot of traveling recently, so it's hard for me to remember.
I believe I promised you 500 gold if you brought it back intact.
I think, based on the
Now,
misunderstandings.
I would be willing to add a bit to that if you brought the item back. Based on some of this misunderstanding we had.
How much is a bit?
I'm going to need to see the item before the negotiations continue.
And I think
I mean, if this is all imaginary, then it doesn't matter, does it?
He tips back, finishes his short beer, and he says, well, if we're talking about imaginary things, then I think I might be imagining this conversation. And he hops off his stool, and he starts to head out. The barmaid bustles out, and she's like, you eat those eggs. And he's like, I'm not going to eat the eggs, Marie.
while they're arguing about the eggs, I'll walk over and oh my god. Okay, I just realized something. Marie, I'm gonna walk over and put my hand out to our wizard friend to take it back and kind of give him a look like, come on.
Harlick, are you going
pass
to give
it.
it to him?
Sorry, push to talk had to unlock. Yeah, I'll hand it over. I don't have any reason not to.
So while they're arguing, I'll walk it over to him and say, does this look about right?
And he's waving his hands at Marie like, fine, I'll eat it. And he turns around and you're holding this out, and he sucks in a breath and he goes, I'll be. You actually found it. Well, no wonder you got attacked coming out of that tunnel. I'll be. And he just keeps repeating that. And he climbs back up on the stool, and Marie pours him another short beer, and he like takes a swig off. Okay. He lets that happen. He's staring at this casing, and he says, all right, I've got a proposition for you. You guys went down there, you killed all those critters, you brought that thing back intact. You don't know what this thing does, but my buyer does. There's a particular set of reasons this piece has not been retrieved, if you catch my meaning. It's in his best interest to let you hang on to it, so to speak, while you procure the other pieces. It'll help you find the other pieces. This is incomplete, though. My buyer wants the whole thing. I would like to hire you to find more of the pieces of this thing. Now, to do that, I'll pay you half for that job up front. Half again when you bring it back. If that goes well, we can keep talking about this. Now, I promised you 500 gold originally. I'll toss on another 300 gold, because that's what I paid the crawlers. And then I'll pay another 500 on top of that as half your fee to bring back the next piece. That's 1,300 gold pieces.
I was just gonna, I was just gonna try to do that math. 500 for original.
300 for hardship.
500
for
And another
half the next job.
500 for half the next job. Up front.
Didn't carrying this thing around get us attacked the first
not
time?
gonna be
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So he wants us to carry it around further?
He wants us to carry it around so his buyer doesn't have to carry it around, basically.
So Felix,
Well, now we know what we're in
Felix
for. I
interrupts
feel
and
like
he-
we
and
can
he-
handle that.
Felix interrupts and he goes, sounds like y'all need to talk about this. I will say this. The reason you got attacked when you were coming up out of that tunnel is because the other people that want to get their hands on this, we've all known where it is for years. We've been waiting. Like, we know it went down there. We've been waiting to get our hands on this. So once you guys start moving around with it, it'll actually be easier to hide. Because you guys won't be, advertising that you have it, I assume. And you'll be moving around to find the other pieces. So.
And do you have any leads on the other pieces?
And he says, matter of fact, I do. How about I give you guys a minute to talk about this, and we see if we have a deal. So he takes his he starts to she's poured him another short beer, and he starts to take the short beer over to the fire, and she stomps behind him like very grumpily and like throws the plate of eggs down on the table next to him. And it's just like whispering furiously at him, and so he picks up a fork and he just starts like angrily shoving eggs in his face, and he's like, "Fine!" And she like huffs off.
I'll kind of motion for us to return to the table, and as we sit down, I'll set the object back in front of Brandon and say, "We did a pretty good job there. Seem to have lined us up for the next job and got us some extra money. Not too bad."
Don't encourage him to yell at people.
Well, he smoothed it out by the end, didn't he?
I
We're all
don't think he
learning.
had anything to do with that.
I'll kind of just wink at Marthala.
All right. Here's what I propose. He's gonna give us the gold, right? 1,300, which means he has it on him.
No.
So
Just roll my eyes.
you grab him by the head, and leave the thing here, and forget about all this crap. We split the 1,300 gold. We go our separate ways, and we forget this miserable 3 days ever happened. I go back to preaching.
While
as
you
you're
hang on,
I mean,
while you
if
guys are
we're going
talking,
to that,
hang on. While you guys are talking from the fire, he turns around in his chair and he goes, "Oh, I forgot to mention, the gold is sitting in an account at the Money Changers that has a really cool name that's written down in the GM's notes that she can't pull up right now.
I'll imagine a cool name.
But the account name is Cream, and that'll have all your money in it tomorrow morning. I'll stop by there on my way home and make sure the amount's correct. I hadn't accounted for the hardship fee, and you haven't told me whether you're accepting the job yet, but I'll give you directions. Don't worry about it." And he turns back to the fire.
I look at Relic. I mean, if we're going that route, we don't even have to leave it here. Why not sell it?
Oh, that's
well,
that's a
he
good
said we
point.
need it for the next job, right?
Yep.
Hey, could I attempt to whisper to Relic, but it's kind of loud because I'm who I am, so that everyone hears it.
Mhm.
Who you are as a
Don't-
character, or is who you are in real life? I was unsure on your intonation
Both.
there. Okay.
Porcano Los Dos. We haven't been run out of this town yet. Perhaps we should try and enjoy the company of others and spread the good word while we're here before we ruin it for a while longer. And a good way to avoid that is not putting important people in town in headlocks.
Relic,
I thought we'd learned that already.
you feel an imposed desire to keep working on this job centered around this housing, and you know that this is being imposed upon you, this desire. It's faint, and you recognize the touch from somewhere, and you're not quite sure where. And as Marthala is like, "Why don't we stick around?" you feel a little bit of that coercion.
How
You all do what you want. I'll just crawl in a bag somewhere, and you just drag me along with you.
Eat some bacon. You'll feel better.
I just slide him like half my remaining bacon. Well, half of my bacon, which is
Marie comes back around and she's filling coffee cups. Can I get anything else for you chaps and lady? Anything I can get for you?
I think I'm okay.
More coffee?
She sees all the serious faces and like tops up off all the coffee, and she's like, "All right, well, I'll be right over here if you need me." And she sets the coffee on the behind the bar, and like looks like she's gonna stay behind the bar, but like is smart enough to recognize that you guys are talking, so she heads back to the kitchen. I think the lights are flickering. Are they flickering? Look, this torch is
They are.
flickering.
Holy
They
shit.
are, yes.
This map is so cool.
Magic.
Sorry.
Technology.
I thought you meant in the house, and I was like, what? No, why?
No, yeah, no, sorry. So she heads back to the kitchen.
Well, can't speak for everybody, but the next job has piqued my interest for a number of reasons. What do you think, Drew? You think you and I can take this job on?
We do have other things to consider here. What about Gorko?
And what the dragon we with?
Yeah, whatever we decide, we have to go talk to a dragon, so.
Oh, of course. Yeah, we can do that next.
Right, but we also now have a child that we've collectively adopted. It
Whoa,
seems
whoa,
wrong
whoa.
to.
I mean,
What are we supposed to do with him? We can't just leave him.
you're. I love the little guy. It's not anyone, but I just thought we were getting him out of the tunnels.
And doing what with him? We've gotten him out. He's safe now.
No, I think he'd fit in right here with this innkeeper. They both have a good attitude.
That's not a bad job.
I
and
can't tell
bad
if he's
ideas.
serious or not.
Well, think about it. I'm sure she could use some extra help around the kitchen and stuff like that, and he seems to be a pretty ingenious little guy. We could talk to him about it. Why don't we find out what he wants?
Yes, his new sunny demeanor will fit in just fine.
Well, we'll give him time. We've got
As
a couple
anything.
days. I propose
Do we
that we.
have a couple days.
Yeah, I propose that we tell Felix we'll take the job. Those of us that want to stick around to do it, we collect our money, we do a bit of shopping, check in with our dragon friend, and then head out on the next job. For those of us that are gonna go.
All right, I won't leave him in ill hands. It seems rather rude.
She's real friendly. Look.
We know nothing about her other than her name is Marie and she brings coffee all the time.
She comes
That's
out
it.
and she says, "Did you need something?"
It's all goblin.
No. So,
She looks confused.
is it Marie?
Yes, that's me. What can I get you, dear?
So, do you like children, Marie?
She bustles up and she goes, "This is not that kind of house."
What if we just gave you one? Just
She looks super
gave you
confused. Geth puts his hands on the table and he stands up and he says, "We're not giving Gorko away."
not like that. I would think he's safer with Marie than with Brannon. Wouldn't you agree?
She interrupts and she goes,
I
I'm
would.
sorry. I'm not quite understanding. You have a baby that you want to
He's a
leave here?"
good lad.
He's sort of a baby.
And
He's
Geth,
handy.
Geth says
He's
it was the goblin that was with us. And she says, "Oh. What was his name?" And Geth says, "Oh, Gorko." And she says,
You
"Gorko,
want
right,
him?
yes. Is that you want to sorry, he's the baby?"
Yes, he's super sweet and we rescued him and now we're not really sure what to do.
She looks confused and she's like, Do you want to leave him here?" Like I don't really watch kids. Is he really a kid?
I think he's
turning
old
the
enough.
whole lot.
And Geth sighs and says he's not a kid. He just lost his only family. He can let me talk to him. And Geth heads back upstairs.
So Marie, breakfast was great. You can run away now. It's fine.
She's like, "Okay." And she bustles over to Felix. And he says, "Hey, my bags, woman." And she says, "Well, fine." And she puts a cup down next to him, and he's like, "I'm not drinking tea." And she's like, "Ugh." And she stomps off, but she leaves the tea, and he sips it.
I would just
I-
like to
I
put
think-
in, if you guys are willing to entertain, I would very much like to come along on this venture.
Druge, what do you
Sure,
think?
why not?
You know how I feel about
There we
wizards.
He actually does want you to come along. I know it doesn't sound like it because he talks that way a lot, but yes, you're more than welcome to join us, I suppose.
Thank God. for
Surely
Quentin
there's
and
something you can
Margalla.
do.
Sorry,
I-
Drew, you said you know how you feel about what?
Wizards.
Oh, they're fine. And just kind of like looks at you like nervously, like, chill, dude.
Mm-hmm. Fine.
So, am I right in understanding? Forgive me. You all talked a lot, and everyone was very mad. So I'm sure I missed a few things. But he wants us to go and find more of the shiny stuff, because it all goes together.
It seems to be a part of a whole, yeah. And I'll kind of like lower my voice so in theory Felix wouldn't be able to hear us and say, you know, this seems to be the start of something, and if there was a reason that Garko's master was trying to destroy it, maybe the only way we can make sure that it's in the right hands or is properly destroyed is by finding out what it is, by finding the rest of the pieces. We can decide then what to do with it.
Oh, well, I mean, yes, that's all well and good. I just really like puzzles, so if there are more pieces and we can put them together, I'd really like to do that.
You like puzzles
I did a
too?
lot of puzzles when I was a
Awesome.
child, and I just haven't gotten to lately. So
Awesome.
Brannon says that they aren't good for those preaching on the road. They take up too much space.
Puzzles?
Yes.
Fair enough.
Puzzle if you want.
Well, it
That's
more or less sounds like we're in agreement. What about our Furbolg friend here?
Yeah, I'm definitely curious about these items.
Okay.
Geth comes back downstairs. He brings Gorko with him. And he says, and Gorko says, Gorko will stay here. Gorko will help Marie. Gorko will wait until you come back.
That's a lad.
Geth will come back.
Oh,
Do you want Gorko to do anything else while I'm waiting?
Could I hand him one of my hand axes? Because I'm assuming they're pretty small. They're closer to Gorko sized.
Yeah.
And say, just keep yourself safe.
Hey, considering my background, might I have some sort of intro to magic tome?
Probably. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna give him
lore.
that.
And he says he like his hands are shaking as he takes it,
oh.
and he says, "My master gave me one of these and I lost it. I will keep it safe for you." And he hugs the book and the hand axe to his chest and like goes back up the stairs. And Marie comes out and sees him going, and she's like, "Oh, is he gonna stay?" And
He's all yours, love.
Geth nods and she goes, "Oh, okay, I'll go." And she follows after Gorko.
All right, well,
So who's gonna talk to Felix? Don't say Brannon.
I'll kind of like,
Quentin, why don't you go share the good news?
sure.
I mean, we can all go.
And I'll slide
Or,
I'll
um,
slide Brandon the every last bit of bacon I still have. I gave him half earlier.
As you get up to head over there, Felix actually sees you coming, and he's like,
Hmm.
"Oh, don't get up, I'll come." And he heads back to his usual.
Just
His
look
usual
longingly at
lifestyle.
my bacon I just got rid of.
And he says, "So,
I'm
what
gonna
have you
eat it.
decided?"
Well, I think we're gonna give it another round at the very least. And, You know, we'll take it as they come, and we'll kind of go from there.
Well, all right then. As I said, there's a money changer on the corner. Marie will know the one. The account you're looking for is the cream account. I'll stop by there on my way home, and make sure the amount's correct, because I need to up it. Because again, hardship fee, and I'm paying you half for the next job up front. Now, the other half of that's dependent on you bringing back both of the pieces, this one here and the new one, and I'll know. Okay? And I'll say this. If you incur more hardship than I deem hard, oh wow, I can't talk tonight. Blech. What he's trying to say, I will explain out of character, is this: you should expect this to be a hard job, and there will be critters to kill, and he thinks you can handle that. If there's sort of above and beyond the Call of Duty stuff, then he'll negotiate hardship pay from there.
Like poop portals and such?
And he goes, what?
Never mind. How many pieces are there? Do you happen to know?
Oh my god, why would you ask me that? Oh, I know how to handle this. He goes, well, I don't know. What I do know is that as one. Oh my god, guys, I can't talk. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Ugh. My buyer tells me what he needs as he hears about where a piece might be. Now, and he gestures at the device. Looks like it's missing a fair bit of pieces. So I imagine that you'll be able to find quite a few of them. And he says, these things kind of have a way of speeding up once they get started, if you know what I mean. If you take my meaning.
I don't know what you mean either.
I think I've gathered.
And he says, all right, you'll take the job. I'll leave a note with the money changer tomorrow and a map. You guys are heading to Fandon. Now, oh, my cat just walked on my shoulder and it scared the life out of me. Holy cats. He says, there isn't a lot of hurry on this job, and in fact, I wouldn't rush out if I were you. If you don't mind, I'm going to spread it around town that you're a bit mad at me, and that'll help cover your tracks a bit. But feel free to hang out and clean up any side quests you want to clean up. And as long as you get to Fandon...
Strange word to use.
I'm so tired. As long as you head out by the end of the week, you should be fine. And I'll get word to you if I find out you need to move quicker.
See, like I said, a couple of days. He takes the last swig of his tea and sets it down on the table and starts to stand up.
Felix downs the last of his tea like it was his short beer, makes a horrible face, bellows, Marie! Shakes his fist at the ceiling because he can hear, like, laughing coming from above him. He throws some coins on the bar and he grumbles and he walks off. And he leaves the inn.
But now, lads, there's gonna be some hardship.
Well, Brandon, it seems like he seems to be good for it. Seemed to be an honest mistake, and he made good without us even asking.
You'll
Sure,
notice we haven't
yeah.
been paid yet.
That's true, but how about we reserve judgment, and you're a professional guy, you know how these things go. You put on a good face until the last minute, and then we make our move if necessary. But give him benefit of the doubt for now.
Sure. But I'm saying he offered more money if there's hardships, so guess what, mates? There's gonna be hardship.
Interesting.
No, but how could you possibly know that if we haven't done the job yet?
Divine intervention.
I would believe him, guys. He's usually pretty right about this stuff. Every time he says we're going to have hardships, it's really, really hard to be with him. So it's probably true.
I was kind of chuckle.
All
Well,
right.
I've got an idea for a few things in town, but we should approach our dragon friend either today or tomorrow and maybe do some shopping.
Sooner rather than later. I don't like to keep dragons waiting.
Oh, I don't either. Don't plan on
I'd
it.
like to third that, I believe.
All right, so I will note that the thing that you want to do next session, because I'm going to end it here, is go chat with a dragon. Does that sound about right?
Dagron!
All right, I would like to discuss an RP point, and just to review, I like to use this as a time of reflection on our session to bandy about fun moments that were either particularly good role-playing moments. They don't necessarily have to be funny. And it's a good chance to sort of, I don't know, say nice things about each other. Anyway, then you'll all vote in the Discord channel, and I'll announce on the stream who got the point. And then the next time you play, you can use it as an advantage. You can re-roll a d20. Okay,
Great.
RP nominations. I will take
Drew's moving the table with his trunk.
I will take nominations from the chat as well. Drew's moving tables. Moving a table with his trunk. That was good.
Marie should get an RP point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell her you
Marie
said
was killing me.
that. Others?
Killing you. I didn't know we rolled initiative.
I'm starting to think maybe you're not a cleric.
Other moments?
Brandon and Marthala in general.
Yeah.
Just all of that.
That was good. Any other moments?
Yeah, I was going to say specifically with Brandon, the walking the fine line between just almost going completely overboard and not going so far as to scare off our employer. Or getting, the city guard called down on his head.
I'm writing it down as Brandon walking that fine line between making sure his displeasure was known while still getting paid. Okay. Hey Jelly. Hang on. Hey Jelly, if you're still there, you have a favorite moment, type it in chat. And Tech, what did you say? Harlock something?
Yeah, Harlock nerding out about the piece.
Yeah, that was good.
I'm gonna have to follow up with you, Harlock, about some of that, because I did that off the
About the
cuff without
lore?
my notes. Yeah, I want to make sure the lore is correct, and so in the recap, I'll put the correct lore in the recap. And
Sure.
I'm sorry. I think I was mostly right. Okay, so we've got 4 moments. Any other last nominations before you guys vote?
I was going to say specifically for Marthala, the stop it out of the corner of the mouth was really well delivered several times, and I feel like it's going to be a running thing.
For his bacon eating.
It felt like it'd been done a million times before.
Yeah, like that's a knee-jerk reaction for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've got 5 things. Drew's moving a table with his trunk. Brandon and Marthala in general. Brandon walking that fine line between making sure his displeasure was known while still getting paid. Harlock nerding out about the piece. And Marthala saying stop it out of the corner of her mouth at Brandon. You all know the drill. Vote by putting in a reaction. I would like you all to vote, please, unless you have a particularly good reason not to. And you can only vote once. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait on one more. 6. Okay. So looks like Harlock nerding out about the piece wins. So I am not going to keep track of this, Glenn. So if you forget about it, that sucks for you.
Yeah, it probably.
But the next time we play, you are allowed to one time re-roll a d20, whatever you want.
Did we
Man,
decide
I'm
if we were
juggling a
using
lot.
the inspiration point at the top of the sheet for that or not? Or is that a separate thing?
I think because we have players that can give inspiration, that's not the best idea.
Okay,
But I also don't care what you do with your character sheets.
fair enough.
All right, so I'm going to end the stream. Stream, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We have greatly enjoyed your company. Join us again next week. Probably. We usually play every Tuesday.
Probably.
I will Twitter about it, about our next scheduled chat. But thank you all so much for coming, and have a wonderful evening. And I'm ending the stream.